everyone. Today is 18th of February 2025. It's a very good day. It's a stable day with very high Tongkong rating for those that in Chinese metaphysics. In fact, it's good for feng shui activation also. So the current local time now in Malaysia is 8:30 p.m. Okay, so tonight we will talk about the 2025 astrology and global trends itself. And actually, the theme of this year's talk is about year of a reform. Okay, so this is a X or snake year. Yeah, okay, so you can see the snake with the yik wood here is designed in this way. Okay, so yeah. The agenda for the talk tonight is an introduction to Chinese astrology. Maybe there are some new participants who don't really understand very much about Chinese astrology. I will still make some very brief introduction, and then we will have 2025 Wood Snake Year forecast, astrology, study of some astrology charts. Some of our members also asked me some questions regarding Trump. We will do two prominent leaders astrology chart and what are the potential happening that will happen in also 2025 as well. Okay, and we will do the manifestation of investor intuition. You guys knows that every month I put in a few dates for you to manifest for investor intuition so that you can see or you can have a more clarity in mind, more foresight of what action to take regarding your investment to ensure that it is profitable, able to mitigate the risk. And then followed by global trend studies by PC, and then followed by conclusion and Q&A. Okay. Yeah, we have disclaimer here. The content that is presented is purely based on our study in global trends in relation to 5 elements and Chinese astrology, and also global trends research for you to use as a guideline in your investment decision. So we will just share what we have studied. It's not a recommendation that you must buy anything that we study. Okay, so but we will normally pick those high potential and commodities or stocks to study. Exercise caution in investment, especially in such volatile situation, and then do your own research on the company that you want to invest. We will not give any stock advice. Additional support will be given through email. You can get our email address, or you can address it in the private Telegram group, which is set up for 2025 astrology and global trends members. So we also analyze several regional economies like US, Europe, and China, especially for PC. Please note that there might be inherent biases because there are differences in regional perspective, and the observations that we presented are actually based on our study and current economic trends with impartial views. This does not reflect any absolute or definitive judgment about any specific regions. Okay. So I think most of you already know us, who we are. Most of you has been supported our work since from the very beginning, that when we started this astrology and global trends is to deploy two methods, that Chinese astrology and trend research to forecast and global trends. And also from the global trends, we can look at what are the potential profitable investment and what are the risks in the investment. Okay. And so far, we are very proud to say we have achieved about high accuracy of 80% to help our members in the profitable investment. In fact, some of our members make multiple folds of money now. Okay, and especially those that invest in gold when they started to follow us, and even in Bitcoin as well. Okay, so we start with introduction of Chinese astrology itself, that actually Chinese astrology is not a superstitious study. It is really based on very scientific studies on the planetary movements in the solar system, okay? And it is actually the energy that is from this movement that give rise to the earth itself, because everything around us is energy. Even the global trends that happens, even the disasters, they are all energy. Okay, so when you charted the planets, you can also forecast what is happening on Earth itself. Okay, how it impacts the life on Earth, and even the energy itself, how it impact our personal destiny. As you know, that I also do personal destiny reading, and we only look at the energy from the 5 planets that is visible in the ancient days. Like Mercury, they will represent certain elements. So in the ancient days, people will look at all these 5 planets that is present. In fact, I think now in February, you can see the night sky. There are alignments of several planets together. That's why it shows that this year is not going to be a very, normal year. It's going to be quite abnormal when you have so many alignments of the planets together with the moon and everything, right? I think some of the bigger planets like Saturn, Venus, they are all aligning together. Okay. You can also check out my Facebook post that I put in, the alignments of all those planets together. Okay, so the 5 elements energy, from, each planet has an energy that impact the itself. Like Mercury is actually water, the 5 elements in the ancient days, they can see the 5 planets movement very clearly, like a shining object in the sky. So they call it 5 moving objects, 五行. Okay, that means they are they move. Then Venus is related to the metal energy itself. Mars is fire. Saturn is wood, and Jupiter. Saturn is earth, and Jupiter is wood. And Jupiter and Saturn are the biggest planet, which have a greatest impact on Earth itself. And when there is a conjunction, every 20 years, there will be a change of era. That right now we are already officially in period 9, but actually the conjunction already happened in somewhere December 2020, when there's a conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn at that time. So actually the chi of the period 9 already starts at that year, and that year itself is actually very abnormal. Remember, we have COVID and all these things that impact us globally. Never a disease that impact us globally. So therefore, from the movement of the planets, we can also chart, the global and the astrology and global trends from the cosmic trinity itself. Like, we talk about the tree, the heaven, like natural resources, natural disasters, and weathers. These are from heaven. We talk about, heaven, man, and earth. 天地人和, okay? And then the earth will be the government, the geopolitics, and then man will be the leaders, the human resources that is governing the earth itself. And if everything goes up, then we will be in the prosperous period. If 1 or 2 goes down, sometimes we will not in a very prosperous period. Then we will have a lot of happenings. Like right now, especially these 2 years, there is quite a lot of natural disasters, either man-made or like earthquake, and also some man-made disasters that starts to coming in, like the plane crash and everything. Okay. So unfortunately, we also do not want, when we predicted all these things, we hope that, all these things never come true. But unfortunately, the energy shows that, indicated that there is a potential there. And most of the time, 90% of the times that it happens. Okay. So we have different energy maps that we can use to predict the global trends, even a personal destinies, a different system. But all this system is also based on the 5 elements itself. One is the Qimengdunjia, the chart itself. Another is the so-called the Bazi chart. Actually, Bazi chart is actually the time, the date of what we are in, the time, the space that we are in, that we are able to translate all the time into a 5 elements chart. And all these are actually 5 elements, which is divided into yin and yang. Even the branches, like the 12 animal signs, actually they are all just 5 elements, 10 steps. That's all. And then from the feng shui perspective, where the qi comes from. So you can, from here, the 5 elements, and then here because the movement of planets happens in a cycle, so we can use all these cyclic charts to predict what will be going on in the future. But every cycle, although the theme is the same, but actually it also like moving forwards as well. The period 9 in 1880s could be very different from the period 9 now we are experiencing. The 180 years ago, period 9 was very different already. That time there was no technology, but the theme is still the same. It's still quite a chaotic period at that time. Okay, so yes, this also we are governed by a bigger cycle. This is where the I Ching comes in. Okay, all these are documented in some of these books. Like they call it Wong King Sai Shu, all this seafood I should talk about. So from there, it's governed by how many thousands of cycles to small, they break it into smaller cycles. That's why in our lifetime, or at least in many eons lifetime, they are not the same. Okay, so yeah, so in the global trends, from the charts, we can always predict the harvest, the weather, the disasters, and the mankind. Okay, yeah, and then in terms of economy, from these 5 elements, we look at the prosperity of the 5 elements, that where we can also use to predict or forecast which elements or which economy or which type of element will be prosperous, using a year chart, a Li Chun chart, the change of the year itself, the Li Chun itself, or the arrival of the spring. Because yeah, so planet Jupiter is actually wood, and it represents like industries like agriculture, wood furniture, fashion, clothing, education, and also wood is growth. By function, it also represents innovation. Okay, and then we have fire. Fire is actually governed by the energy of mass that represent passion and happiness. In the industries, it will be like technology, military, food, restaurant, entertainment. Okay, and earth, of course, is governed by properties, real estate, natural resources, and insurance. And the planet is Saturn. Okay, so it represents stability and security. Metal is Venus, that represent execution or altruism. And the industries is the finance industries. Okay, automobile, precious metal, and heavy machinery. Because period 9 is a fire period now. So finance is, in a way, is a metal industries. So definitely there will be big transformation, as we can see. You see, even the banks now slowly, some of them are going away. Okay, last year I think, or 2 years ago, we have a lot of banks not doing well, being transformed. Okay, even the financial system also being transformed. Now we are going towards the fintech era. We are now in the fintech era now. Okay, then in Mercury, that governs water, represent wisdom. Okay, so the industries will be those that flow like water, like consumer goods, shipping, transportation, and tourism. Okay, and okay, so next we will go through the Woodsnake year astrology forecast, as everyone that is looking forward to this forecast itself. Okay, so as I told you that we are governed by a very big cycle, and now we are in period 9 itself. Okay, 2024 to 2043. Previously, we were in Earth period. Okay, so this is, I think most of you have seen this chart many times and already realized what are the transformation. If you still wanted to know more, it will be in my YouTube channel, where I have a playlist on period 9, where you can check it out as well. What will be prominent in period 9 and what will be prosperous in period 9. Okay, so like in period 8, the prosperity is in, property. So in period 9, it will be fire related type of investment. Okay, so and also we know that a lot of our members also talk about 车马 红羊节, okay, or so-called the crimson goat, the red horse crimson goat robbery or obstacles. Okay, so in 2025, because we are in fire period, and in 2025, actually this has already started. The appetizer itself, because the fire starts to grow very strong in 2025 itself. For those that if you have fire as your unfavorable element in your birth chart, then you really need to watch out also. Okay, these few years, it will you have to really take precaution in that sense. Besides, we talk about global trends. Global trends, definitely, there will be very major transformation. So in 2025, it was started already because the fire will be strong, because the wood will support the fire, it will start. That's why now you see a lot of fire, small fire related incidents, like bigger one in California and all these things. So they are all, fire related. So in 2026, this is the peak of the fire, pure fire. We call this a unified pillar, pure fire pillar in 2026 Beng Wu. So in Beng Wu Ding in history, it's already recorded that many cycles of Beng Wu Ding Wei. There's one China historian that recorded this, that says that almost like 80-20 rules, maybe about over 90% of the Beng Wu Ding Wei year will have a lot of problems. Okay, we'll have a lot of natural disasters, a lot of transformation, a lot of change, and moreover, we are in the period 9 period, and in the period 9 fire period. So this will aggravate the change itself. Even the skills that we have 20 years ago might not be useful today already. It's already transformed. So therefore, those who are still working in the corporate world or even running your own business, it's very important that you also start to reskill. Okay?
I think the advent of AI, now that especially with DeepSeek that make it open source, a lot of companies are now actually nurturing their own, AI's capabilities. And if let's say we don't start, especially those in business, don't start looking at how to harness the effectiveness of AI, then those that do, they will be on a more competitive advantage. So that's why I think the period of transformation is like from one that is over the cycles in the past decade, from one that is brick and mortar to one that is e-commerce. And right now, e-commerce is also being driven by AI to upskill the potential, to harvest the revenue, and this is the kind of thing that we will see in the next few years now.
Yeah, that's right. Even you can see it now, it's coming to you. Facebook is tracking you. Whatever that you do search, suddenly it will come out, in advertisement sponsor already. Even Google also the same. And then in Amazon, they will then track you using AI that you have an interest in, then they will start recommending more and more of these things to you. That means it's customized to your behavior, to your appetite. That is what they are also trying to do. How human do this? Not possible, right? It's using AI. And businesses that does not use AI, they will never be able to compete with AIs already. Okay, so it's very important that you use AI. That's why I'm learning AI now. I will also be teaching AI, I think, to a groups of engineer on the 24th of February as well, to an MNC. And also I will also have my own AI course. For those that are interested, can join as well. I have learned this for past 2 years. I will condense everything into a 2 to 3 days course. And those who are interested can always join that course itself later on. Once I'm ready, I will, launch the course out, because right now I'm teaching some engineers to do some of the things. Even my friends also ask me, you got course AI for children or not? I said, yeah, if there is an interest, I also can create one. Okay, but bear in mind, all the things that I do, although I'm very good in AI, but in terms of all this 八字 analysis and all this, I never use AI. It's very much solely based on my knowledge base. Okay, knowledge base I've accumulated for more than 15 years, because all this knowledge, you have to be very careful when you use AI. Sometimes they tend to hallucinate and it's not very real. It only takes an expert to spot the weaknesses in the AI. So AI doesn't mean that you are not expert. You can simply go and lie, this one. You're even more careful because you have to screen out AI's knowledge as well. What they fetch from you, where they learn the data, it could be biased. Okay, so there's a little bit of AI.
Yeah, and another thing, especially those who have children that will be going to, let's say, colleges and all those, I think those marketing will be one that you shouldn't, encourage your children to enroll, because right now all marketing is done by AI. But rather, I think a lot of things that will change. I think skillmanship will be very, very important.
Yeah,
because
blue
everyone,
collar.
blue collar works, for example, maybe electrician, plumber, and all those metal works, because AI can't do that. Okay. And those like in the house, an electrician that comes to the house to visit already costs you more than 100 already, easily. Plumber also. So those are the skills that will be in demand, because when AI is so good, a lot of the things like even accounting, even we are not talking about coming things that will change in the 1-2 year. But I think as AI garners better learning capabilities, maybe in the next 5 years or more, things would drastically change, because even lawyers, even medicinal practitioners, I think AI would be able. So let's say if you want your children to become a doctor, they need to be very expert in certain things. For example, oncology or neurology, need skills, because AI won't have that human skill and humanity inside it.
Yeah, that's right. Even nursing will be even more in demand than doctors, because nursing is skills. Okay, so that's why my daughter wants to go into medicine. I told her to go into nursing.
and it's true also, because global population will continue to grow. One generation after the next, you have more elderly people, and elderly people need to be looked after. Let's say private nurse, for those old people that are suffering from dementia, you may not know, if you do not know the market rate, I can share with you, because my father, before he passed away, was suffering from dementia. Hiring a nurse is easily, private nurse is easily 5,000 to 8,000 a month. Okay. And that include providing the food and lodging to the nurse, doesn't exclude, excluding providing lodging and meals for the nurse. So the nurse practically take in the entire pay.
It's net pay. For them, it's net already. They don't even have to travel and everything. Even nursing home also now costs above 5K, a decent one. Okay. So this is not something that is very real in a way. Okay. And also we will talk more about this in our period 9 course. It will be very interesting, because last year somebody asked me, I touched slightly, but this year I will go in depth already, judging from, the energy I'm seeing now, the transformation. So I can, roughly, I can already forecast 2026 and 2027. Okay. Yeah. So fire is actually an element that transforms all elements. Yeah. Okay. So even water being transformed, metal being transformed, wood being burned. Okay. And even earth itself also, being transformed.
If you find this video informative, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel for more valuable insights and updates. By subscribing, you will be the first to know when I post new content.
So let's go to the energy chart of 2025. The time of this year's Li Chun is slightly earlier one day. Normally it's on 4th of February. This year is it starts at 10 p.m. 3rd of February 2025. And this chart is important because this chart is where the Earth will go to back to its position in relation to the Sun itself. Then from here, because actually, if you look at it scientifically, the Sun, the way it's positioned, although they, the map up position is the same, but they are never in the same way of, of orbiting. All this, Sun and all this, they are quite dynamic. Therefore, the arrow also changes. What error in the past, period 9 in the past will never be the same as the error here, in this error. I think we are living in a very comfortable time. Everything is between fingertips. Like, even children's homework. Now I ask my daughter to use notebook LM together to help her. Okay. So this is the things that this is the things that I do because I'm quite savvy with AI tools also. Yeah, so here in year, this we know is a snake year. Every one of us know, but the element here is actually wood snake year. Okay, the month is every Li Chun February is always a yin month, a growth. Would represent innovation, growth, education. That's why education is always important. No matter what area you're in, it will appear prominently in the chart one. Okay, so human race will always grow. Agree? Will always innovate and change. Right? Agree, everyone? If you agree, maybe you can give me a 2 here. Hello? Nobody? Yeah. Okay, thanks, Karen. Thanks, Mitra. Only 2 agree. The rest all don't agree. Oh, Clarice, thanks. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Yes, at least a lot of us agree, huh? Okay, so this is why, continuous growth is important. Although we are in the AI era, we still have to grow. Okay, so we are in the Wu Ying month. Wu Ying also, this pillar is a bit not so good because we have the wood controlling the earth. Okay, I will talk more about it. And then is Kui Mao Day and Kui Hai Hour. Okay, so this pillar actually representing the overall global. This pillar normally representing the government, the politics. This pillar representing the people here. This pillar representing the output, the productivity. Okay, so everyone on Earth this year, is represented by Kui water. We are water. Last year, what we are, anyone knows that in 2024, all the people on Earth is represented by what? Anyone? Test, see whether you remember last year what I say or not. Anyone? Have to go and see last year's Li Chun chart. Okay, actually last year we are Wu Earth. You go and check. Okay. So it was like a heaven and earth clash also last year. Okay. So this year we don't have so much of heaven and earth clash, but we have a lot of punishment. Still, it's not so good here. And then you can see even here, you see the missing element is what? Anyone knows what is the missing element? You cannot see what? We have 5 elements, right? Wood, fire, earth, metal, and also water. Yeah. Thanks, singing. We have metal is actually a resource for water, and we are people on earth without resource, not much support. So we have to be self-reliance, self-independence. That's why one of the things that we can be self-independence is always that self-learn. There are so many avenues nowadays for you to self-learn. Okay, you can self-learn using AI. And you can even learn real-time things using AI also. Gemini has a features, it's in beta mode, okay, that can self-learn. And also in YouTube, there are so many websites that you can self-learn. So we have the self-reliance, okay. So Clearwater, I already stated in the book that we have a lot of outputs, really a lot of outputs, but the fire not much. So fire is well because water control fire. So fire is the wealth element. It's not easy to turn into wood also. So it's very strong. This chart, you can see here all wood, here all water. So wood and water is very strong. Wood, I say that represent innovation. So AI will go to another level. So right now, I think beginning of this year, we have AI reaching another level, which is real-time response, and also the reasoning power is very high now, like DeepSeek, the version 3. All those earlier models like ChatGPT 3.54, they are stupid. They are more stupid than compared to the current model. Okay. Yes,
today, Evelyn, today X just released Grok 3, which some people say is better than DeepSeek.
Oh, okay.
So the AI war is going to intensify.
Yes, that's right. So the innovation of the AI is going to intensify. Models were getting better. Reasoning power is better now. Okay, so all these are the things that we look at. So that's why I need to be in the AI master groups that keeps on telling that feed us with the latest information on AI because it's so dynamic. Okay, so my AI information is always quite up to date. Okay, so the Wu Earth is actually you see all these animal, for those that knows this animal, these are all so-called sky horse. Okay, they are all sky horse growth chi. They are the beginning of the season chi energy. They call sky horse. That means if both charts have a lot of sky horse, these people cannot sit still. Okay, okay, so cannot sit still. Has to move on. These are all movement stars. Okay, so if you don't move, that means it's very bad for you. Okay, so the earth is loose. You see, all these sky horse, they are all moving one. The earth are not routed. So the earth is loose. Chances that could be earthquake, especially in August. Right? And then there will be some minor one in March. Later on, when the March forecast comes, I will talk about it more. Okay. So in August is very important. So the Wu Earth also this is our officer, Korea, and this Wu actually this is officer star that combines with the Koi, but the Koi water is actually the officer star so very big, means that a lot of political leaders will have problem. Okay, namely including Xi Jinping. I will look a little bit about his sponsor, but in details, maybe in the future we will go through a full case studies in the period 9 course itself. Okay.
And I think the missing element is very true because right now the Bank of England need about 6 to 8 weeks to deliver its gold, which means it doesn't have any gold anymore. So a lot of the gold are moving back into US. Okay, and a lot of the refineries also run out of gold. So they say if you want gold urgently, you have to pay a premium. So so that's why missing elements sometimes people might misunderstood that which if there's no metal, it means that the price of resources will drop. Okay, but right now gold, is on the verge of going to $3,000 per ounce simply because there's no gold. Okay, so sometimes I think we need to be a bit more attentive in how we utilize that information. Back to you, Evelyn.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Actually, we already predicted that gold will have scarcity in 2 years ago already. When anyone has attended our book launch, we also give tips. Go and buy gold. That's all. If you don't buy other things, just buy gold. Okay. I hope those that attended our talk really take the action. Okay. So what happened is that okay, when we look at the chart now, there's only the biggest element here. The price will be the best. It's not like this. It's not like this. It's just that even the smallest element, sometimes because scarcity, anything that is prosperous does not relate to the price or to the money itself. Okay, to the wealth of that element itself. It's not like this. Okay, the way to read that chart also. So I think y'all have followed me for almost 3 years. So you already know what most of y'all have already follow us for almost 3 years. So this is not the way that we read the chart. So we look at the pillar interaction. It's also very interesting. The Wu and the Kui is combining. That means when you combine, sometimes things will go away. Maybe some of the position will go away as well. Okay, just now we talk about skilled workers. And then the branch has many sky horse. Means that there's a lot of transformation movement. It's very busy. And also sky horses, they tend to have punishment. Either they have self-punishment or they have, ungrateful punishment. So
actually, Evelyn, Elon Musk already fired a lot of the director generals from the government agencies.
Yeah, that's right. And in fact, a lot of corporations also, they start, looking at those heavyweights as well. Yeah. So it's not if you really wanted to this one, you have to really reskill yourself also. And then it's a wood frame combination again. It is actually there is a wood frame in terms of this high Mao, if another way comes in, wood strong. Okay, even seasonal also, Mao, Yin, and Chen is also this one. So the chart shows you not only elemental point is strong, but those that understand deeper parts will know what I mean by seasonal combination and also the three harmony combination that pulls in the energy of wood. So the whole thing means that wood is strong. That's all. Okay? Yeah.
In a world where market trends are as mysterious as the stars, investors seek clarity beyond the chaos. Meet Evelyn Tan, a Chinese astrologist, and her co-founder, Wong, an investment guru, where ancient wisdom meets modern market trend research. Experience investment forecasting refined by Chinese astrology. Join top investors who trust their precise insights for their most crucial decisions. Ready to transform your investments? Join now for exclusive insights and forecasts brought to you by Astrology and Global Trends.
So this is one thing I wanted to say, sky horse movement. That means not stable. So I would like to caution everyone here. Be careful when you are traveling in 2025. If possible, in the month of August until the first week of September is a very critical month. I will talk about it later, but I tell you just, if I talk about it, I will, make another half an hour to 1 hour. And we cannot finish by 12 a.m. tonight also, till tomorrow morning already, right? So, in short, month of August, if you are scheduling a holiday, I will advise you to cancel it. Okay, it's a very critical month. It's also, a month that, advise that everyone stay, where they are. Avoid. And another month that we can see in March also is also slightly critical, but not as bad as August. Okay, so you will see more of incidents of airplanes, all these moving objects, especially long moving objects, will be having a problem. Okay, will have more accidents, accident prone. Even you drive, if you are driving also, be careful. Yeah, the energy shows that. And then let's look at Chiman chart. I think I did not cover this in my book. So the Chiman chart also shows okay, those who knows how to read Chiman chart one I think I don't know whether Augustine is here tonight or not. Let me check if Augustine is here, because he always asks me for a lot of things. Unfortunately he's not here. So anyway, this is actually a chart a Chiman chart that is not the star, means the timing is not it's the other round. They have their home base. But this one, by right, this fellow belongs to this home base. Then they come up. Okay, so it's the other way around already. When the other way around means that there is sudden change, extreme shift, reversal, and also destruction. Right? So this one is like the heaven man realms they're having this problem. Some areas may skyrocket to success. Maybe like technology, others might crash, maybe those traditional, items. Okay, so the energy could be quite extreme. Okay, but if used well, that's why I say this year also is powerful breakthrough. Even just now we look at the Bazi chart, the Li Chun chart itself shows wood, means innovation. This Chiman chart also shows the same thing, tells the same narration of powerful breakthroughs. Breakthrough in what? Potentially in technology, in AI. Okay. Sorry, I accidentally, stop sharing. I will need to share again. Let me just go back and share first. Okay, so next is okay. This one is a 太乙神术 chart now. I learned a little bit how to read it, but more or less it's just a reference to say that this year is going to be quite a chaotic year, because all these numbers, although 38 is a good combination number and there is a lot of confrontation, we cannot have two people in one house. So there will be, and so moreover is confrontation between host and guest and all these things. It's actually like a chess. You have host and guest and all these things. So it's not a very good event. Even this, the 太乙神术 chart of number I think it's 50 something, right? Yeah, also shows a lot of scenarios and there are potential rebelling people that is going on. Okay, rebellious number 54, yeah, is this one. Okay, so this is also another chart that reflects the year itself. Many methods to forecast the year. So in the year evaluation hexagram I Ching or so on, we have separate and reform. Okay, and the separate one is the shadow one. I think I put it in the book. This one, the or the reform is not yet. Even the hexagram itself shows that is also reforming. That means a lot of political, social upheavals, economic shift, technology disruptions, and then even spiritual consciousness and evolution is all there. Okay, so this is one of the things. And another thing very interesting, this is my own ideas that I come up. This is also through intuition. You see period 8, period 8 a lot of pyramid scheme, right? Y'all know what's pyramid scheme or not? If no, can give me a 3. Anyone knows what's pyramid Ponzi pyramid scheme? Have experience before? Only 2 people never heard of it This one very active in Mark?
Yeah, the biggest pyramid scheme is the US.
MLM, yeah.
Is the US Treasury auction.
Yeah. Yes, member get member, multi-level marketing, money game. Yes, that's right. We have a lot of money game. Like that's one MBI, right? Yeah, a lot of people stuck there because of MBI also one. Okay, so period 8, a lot of this like mountain pyramid scheme. You see period 9 fire already. So scammers no more, not much pyramid scheme, but it's it's like fire already. They will predict online, gain our trust, and then they will start to learn you. Okay, so it's very important not to be greedy. Anything that is too good to be true, forget about it. Very important. This one I want to warn because a lot of people also got scammed. Either small or big. Some it says that your credit card have been used for this. You check the number, it doesn't tell you. Forget about it. It's not really true. If there is, you just call the bank and double check again. That's all. Now sometimes they like to tell you, this is, then you go and click on this link and all these things. So even small scams like this also happens. Okay, and then bigger scams, of course, they will have things they're going to track your Facebook profile and all these things and this one. So the old age adage of never talk to stranger is always true. From young, did our parents educate us not to talk to stranger? Anyone? Did your parents educate you not to talk to stranger? Or Geneva? Yeah. Geneva is a good one. Yeah. That's right. So still stand today, not talk to stranger. Okay. Okay. So this is this is the thing that has changed. Very interesting. When I put up this chart also, I was like, oh, even scammers also changed their tactics already. Okay, so next is that it's very important. If there's anything that can boost up your energy, it's very important you tap in it. Last year, I did not talk so much about feng shui because this chi actually free one is in the house. So very important that you divide your house into 9 grids. There are many videos, YouTube videos. Remember, I talked about no resources, have to be self-sufficient. So go and look up for yourself how to determine the direction of your house. Okay, so I also have a YouTube video in my own channel that talks about tapping on the chi. So most important thing this year very important. Northeast have to keep very quiet. If you don't use northeast, don't go and use northeast this year. Last year if you don't use this year. Okay, so don't go and suddenly go and convert and then use this year. Suddenly your energy level is low then somehow or other you like to use things that are bad one, or you're attracted to bad houses, bad feng shui houses one. Okay, so because number 5 and does anyone know what is star number 5 element? Oh, yeah, don't post online is best. Unfortunately, we do this type of job, we have to still to post online. Yes, thanks, Ying. So this year we are in period 9, right? Fire also strong, right? The star number 5 will be even stronger. There are some seafood that says that star number 5 is a very powerful star. Yes, it's a powerful star, provided you are ready. Okay, provided that you have that status to use it. It's not meant for everyone. It's only for at least reserved for 1% of the people. Okay, so don't go and groundbreaking there, not even a deal there. So very important. I even tell you how to mitigate the star. Either use a lot of metal, or you use a lot, especially brass, copper, all these things, or either you use the salt cure, okay, or both together. Okay, I'm very C one, so I use 2 together. My main interest today this year is northeast. Okay, yeah, and then you have robbery star also can mitigate, and then northwest is the argument star. The most important thing is all this earth star, even the center sickness. It's best that you also mitigate if you have some object you can place there. The best is a house, the center is actually empty one, got, the flowing of the qi one. So the things that you can use is like, east, southeast, southwest, and west. Okay, these are better direction. Actually, east is quite a good direction because of multiplication of good things. Okay, and then
Evelyn, I have a question. When you put it in this kind of squares, the North Star means the facing the entrance of the gate or actually facing real north?
you have to demark your own house into 9 grids. If this one is for those that orientation of the house is north-south one. If northeast southwest one, then this one will become northeast southwest already.
So
you have to identify where is the northeast sector of your house.
Okay.
Okay, this is just an example.
So it's where you face the entrance. Where is the entrance or?
Not necessarily, because it could be another house that northeast could be here.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you have to be careful on that. Maybe you can ask me later on if you know your house, this one your house facing and sitting direction or at least if you don't know, at least you know where is your east, because east is the first part. This is how I use those that do not know how to read compass. I have some clients like that, really do not know how to read compass, so I don't encourage them to do activation, feng shui, and everything because they don't even know how to divide sectors. If I were to work with them, I will need to charge for my time already. So don't do it. Okay, so the most is you can divide into 9 grids. So 9 grids, and then you look at east part. East part is where the house, the first sunlight comes in. Because sunrise in the east, then after that you can mark the rest of the house already.
I see.
Okay. Then yeah. So this one, and then this is one of the way to do that. Okay. Or west of where the sunset is.
Understood.
Okay. So and then you can also one of the ways is that you stand in the middle. Actually, I have a YouTube channel. I have a YouTube video, or I think I have an article in my blog that talk about how to determine the direction. You can stand in the center and then look at the compass. This is very rough that where they are, not the 24 mountains type. Okay, so all these things must be very, very careful. I want to stress again. It is very important. And then you can see star 8. We know that last spirit is spirit 8, right? So star 8, actually the 8 itself, those in the feng shui and those who know feng shui, I think like Mitra and all this, they will know that the qi is retreating. So when they are retreating, and then they are actually in southwest, which is not a very good direction for star 8 itself. So that's why the cash flow will be a problem this year also. And this is also another indication of that. Okay. That's why even the Bazi chart and the Li Chun chart also shows that the wealth star is not so good. So here, those that are interested that wanted a monthly feng shui report and all these things to capitalize on the annual powerful star. If you already have all this in with other sifu, you just follow other sifu. If you don't and you would like to me to do a monthly feng shui report for you, I have one for you that you can capitalize on the annual powerful stars, mitigate on on potential on auspicious stars, activation of auspicious stars, and then health and power manifestation date I can put in, and then also heavenly pardon day if there is one. And then this one I will charge a total of 598 starting from March to January 2026. If y'all are interested in, okay, then if any one of y'all want to do renovation, I can also do date selection for you all, because sometimes northeast you don't do date selection for renovation if emergency, because that one is your affinity already. Suddenly the pipes break and all this, just do it immediately. There's nothing much we can do, and later on you just need to activate all the good stars. So that's all that you can do. So those that want to do renovation and all these things also, we can do date selections. There are certain dates selections that you can do. I also charge $299 per day if any one of you wanted to do renovation. Okay, So this is the services that I put in this year that's available, because I feel that feng shui, at least at this level, this one is more on 24 mountains. That's why if you must really determine your house very, very carefully already. That one needs accurate direction, because each of these 24 mountains are like a meridian point. Okay, so this is what you will get monthly, that what are the no touch sector mitigation dates itself, and then activation, and also mitigation. Activation is different. Mitigation, we mitigate the bad stars. Okay, activate, then we will activate the powerful stars, better stars. Then medical treatment or health manifestation, and then power manifestation date that will be given to you all if you are interested. Okay. And then these are our work. I think most of you already know. So we will go into studies of astrology charts. I'm more on case study now. So if you remember that last year in year 2024, hexagram, we have a hexagram on abundance. So it's a peak of abundance here that we have. And remember that time we says that Trump will be elected. I also predicted somewhere in August that Trump will get elected, because of judging, from his party, and also some of the things that in his life palaces that give the clues that, and also the assistant that he picked that is for him, that supports him quite well. So we talk about geopolitical isolation. You see, when Trump comes in already, so the isolation comes in is because the concept already comes in, because he wants America to be self-sufficient. That means he already told, I think he put in the news also, right? BC, that America will be self-sufficient. They do not need any resources from other parts of the world already, right? Yeah.
Sorry?
Yeah, he says that America will be self-sufficient. Yeah, they don't need to buy resources from other parts of the world.
Even the thing is that even US have the key to resources. There's a lot of refining technology that the US is incapable of. For example, in terms of rare earth, in terms of tungsten, in terms of graphite. So that's why China right now is preventing all these materials from for being sent to the US. They have to get a license to export. So that is the main thing
for that.
Yeah.
That's right. So that's why he thinks that America will be sufficient. That is his concept of self-sufficient. That means isolation. Yeah. This one happens already. This is what I predicted, and it happens. Okay. So okay, let's look at Trump's birth chart a little bit. We will look at two leaders' birth chart. So these are the two biggest leaders' birth chart that will influence the geopolitical landscape itself. So Trump is actually you see his chart now. It's actually a very special chart. It's not like normal people's chart now where they want balance. He doesn't need to balance the chart. He only needs to follow the leader of the chart. If those that are in button nose, because the prominent element is strong. That means his elements is the charts is actually fire. The fire is the leader in the chart. Okay, so normally this type of chart, you need to support the leader only, because these are all seasonal combination that these are all summer months. So all this in the branch it happens. So it's a very strong fire chart that create him a resource. That means follow the resource chart. That definitely in this chart means that fire is his best element. Okay, so he will have problem. This chart doesn't like water one. He doesn't need water one. That's why you see the chart. Just now I say water represent what? Remember or not? Wisdom, right? Okay, so you see the whole chart here, no water one. You cannot even find one drop of water here, right? These are also eventually this also will pull in the fire element also. Seasonal combination, this will pull in. So these are all fire strong chart, no water one. So that's why he also no wisdom one.
You are calling him an idiot indirectly.
Since we did lah. So no wisdom, right now. I agree with the way you talk. It's entertaining one. Then you can twist and turn his word one. So just like I say, water represent what? Wisdom lah. So interesting chart, very interesting chart. And then these few years he will do very well because the fire is strong. Do very well for him. I didn't say do very well. US will do well. These are two almost different methods. Because if US will do well, we have to, put in overlay the US country chart together with the leaders chart. Okay. So but he's in the water luck cycle itself. But the good thing is that this few years is fire year, just now we say fire strong, so it's still very good for him. So I think when he was in the water luck cycle, I think the 10 years, all his business venture, the resort casino, all this filed for bankruptcy one. Yeah. Then and also Trump, the Chiman Destiny chart, I think this one is requested by one of the members itself. Okay, so it's actually a Fanyin chart in star and stamp. This is all these things are all in wrong position. In another words, so you don't have to read this chart. Okay, if you want to learn Chiman, it will take you like 2-3 months to intensively learn and understand it. So I will just pull out the essence of the chart itself. That his thoughts and outcome is always a surprise one. That's why suddenly he can change one, can switch one very fast because funny means that very fast. Okay, and then actually his deity is hook deity. If any one of you have some knowledge on Chiman, hook deity is actually can hook knowledge from the past one. And I believe that he is a strong believer in astrology and even in feng shui. Okay, there are some people that go and check his Trump Tower and everything and look at it. Actually, it's feng shui compliance one. Okay, and then the assistant he picked Vance for this year, this election one is actually also will support him one. The star will support him one. So this is where I believe that last time Biden time maybe he believed in it Western astrology so maybe it does not have a good match now. He has this one so is where because Hook is like a deity that has a capability, a subconscious mind, they're able to hook the knowledge from the past. Okay, so all this astrology, all these are ancient knowledge. Okay, so Hook deity is actually fierce and stubborn in nature, malicious tongue. Does this also, correlate with what, he talks? Can somebody give me a yes? All these ferocious masters of fights and wars, and also, got misfortune, assassination, sometimes go up very fast, go down very fast. And then, and also I think he's born with, entrepreneur star. This is an entrepreneur star. Also, bad temper. It really reflects in his personality so much. Okay. Yeah. And then another one is, we look at President Xi. I just quickly went through it. For President Xi, he is actually a Ding Yu. So this year, a very interesting year for him. He every 10 years we have a luck pillar. So this year he changed his luck pillar to Xin Hai. And then this year, this one, wood and metal is countering. Water and fire is countering. So for him, we'll expect also changes and transformation for him. And he will have some transformation policy changes in China also. Okay. And then this transformation will impact 2026 and 2027. Okay. So
actually the transformation is really happening. Previously, President Xi is very wants to focus on the welfare of the people. So he actually put a lot of restriction on the tech sector so that the resources are directed towards helping the people. But right now, I think after yesterday meeting, after he invited a lot of the tech leaders in China for a meeting, I think he started to change already, in a sense that he wants because of the intense competition right now in the technology sector, I think he believes he cannot, put restriction on Chinese tech. Because if he put restriction on Chinese tech, the innovation will actually slow down, because China doesn't have the kind of basic essentials like the chips, high-end chips, as well as the lithography machines. These are the two things that hold back China. If he doesn't change and he still put a restriction on the tech sector, then China innovation would start to slow. So that's why I think yesterday meeting is like he understands that right now the China and US is fighting for tech leadership, and China must take the lead in the tech leadership, because if US does it, then China will never get access to improvement. So only when China leapfrog the US, then China can be at peace. So I think that is why his policy also started to shift. And that's why I think coming few years would be good for Chinese tech as well.
Yeah, definitely. And we will talk more about this in period 9, where I also overlay China's countries' parts together with President Xi. And it is quite interesting to study. Okay. So yeah, I hope our members will enroll in that course. Okay. So yeah, another one is the future I saw prediction. I think it's very widely says in the internet. Real Tatsuki is an enemy artist, where she has the capability to predict natural disasters. A few natural disasters that she predicted, it happens at Tohoku in 2011, in Fukushima, that it happens. And also now she predicted that 5th of July. And the most important thing, we can't even predict until the time. But okay, personally, when I look at this chart, I don't see the major, but most likely I know there will be a major earthquake in August. Okay, around that region. Okay, so and also right now today we are February 8th. We have already go into another, there are 24 solar terms. So into into the rainwater chart, solar terms already. So this chart also shows a lot of like violence and this one. So expected violence incidents will happen February 28th to March, like this. February 18th till now. Okay. So yeah, just a summary that in economy, education, agriculture, it will do very well. Growth in innovation. Okay, do well, that means not necessarily it's money related. Okay, so it's prominent only. Okay, logistic, travel also quite prominent. Human movement will be everywhere. Technology goes without saying, that crypto and all this, because we are in fire period. Okay, and also in property, there will be not much attention. Price will be slightly better in the summer month or in end of the year. So precious metal attention, there is not enough. The supply chain will be challenging again this year. Okay. So manifestation for we have gone through I think you already know the manifestation part, that all these things. So the most important thing that we know is that manifestation is different from making a wish. Manifestation is command your body to vibrate at the frequency to attract things into your life. Okay, so you have to be very in the alpha state mood. That means in a very calm mood now, because right now we are in beta or gamma mode. Now most of us is very short peak, so it's not very easy to command the cell to vibrate. Once you're in alpha mode, they're more gentle, so easily you can vibrate to the frequency that you want to attract things into your life. For example, you want to attract wealth into your life. Okay, so this is very important. So this is always the middle way. And then this is you are sleeping already, so you will not be able to command already. Maybe in theta mode also still okay. Okay, but I'm in meditation mode. That's why it's very important that, some people tell me manifestation does not work because it's important that you reach the alpha mode first, generally for a lot of people. Okay, so how to get into the alpha wave? There are many videos that already show you how to do that. I think my value also show you that. But in Chinese metaphysics, we are more superior. We know the energy, direction, time, and all these things. So we can overlay, all these things together to even tap on the areas, chi or energy for us to, boost up our manifestation. It's boosting the manifestation. This is where, the things comes in. And these are the good dates. I will put it in the Telegram channel. For those that, come in, not our member, I will send it to you personally. Okay, so these are the manifestation dates, for wealth, and these are the, the manifestation scripts that you can do for February till March. Okay, for wealth. Okay, so I think over to you, BC, you want to share your things?
Yeah.
Let me stop sharing first.
Yeah, I can share already.
Okay, good.
Okay. Let's look at, what's happening around the world. Now, these are the top 10 economies in the world based on PPP. A lot of people like to argue that based on economic size, the US is much bigger than China, and that the GDP per capita is much higher than China. But all these are actually wrong measurement of GDP, because even though the US have high GDP per capita, it is averaged out among the people, but then the US have a very wide differentiation between the rich and the poor. Okay, so that doesn't count. But IMF have decided to use the PPP as a measurement because $1 in the US is worth $1, but $1 in China can buy more things than $1 in the US. So that's how they derive the GDP by PPP as a much better measurement of economic size, because that's when the dollar can buy more things, resulting in better consumption and so forth. So that's why if you look at the top 10 countries by PPP, China is actually leading at 37.07 trillion, okay, adjusted for PPP. US is second, third is India, fourth is Russia, Japan is fifth, Germany is sixth, Brazil is 7, Indonesia is 8, France is 9, and UK is 10th. So out of that, 5 countries are actually from BRICS. And collectively, the BRICS constitute 69.36 trillion, or 59.9% of the total. So in terms of PPP, the BRICS countries that are in the top 10 economies are actually outperforming the G7. So let's look at the US economy. Okay, in terms of nominal GDP, US still retains its top position. But if we put US economy under the microscope, we will see several troubling trends. Okay, in 2024, US GDP grew by 1.404 trillion. But its debt grew by 2.218 trillion. So that growth have outpaced GDP growth by a factor of 1.6. So that's why you see that the debt growth in the US, can always keep on escalating, because whatever that is used to finance the economy is not growing as fast. Okay, and that is why the interest expense keep going higher. So in 2025, the US economy could experience structural changes due to the following. Now we have DOGE or Dodge will cut funding to many agencies which have relied on US aid. So I think this news is everyone will receive it, okay, through all the social media. Now this means that there is less free money to float within the system. Dodge will also axe many government employees, which have swelled from a low of 21.395 million post-COVID to 23.516 million at the end of December 2024. So Dodge will also close a lot of the loopholes within the system, pulling liquidity out of the economy. And then Trump reciprocal tariffs will raise the specter of inflation, although he hopes to mitigate it with tax cuts. The US also faced a problem in addressing its debt and interest payment on debt. The cost of borrowing based on 10-year yield has risen from 0.416% during COVID low to 4.4980% as of 11 February 2024. So you can see that it has gone up, okay, by how many times? More than 10 times, okay? So US interest payment on debt has risen from 508 billion during COVID low in Q3 2020 to 1.124 trillion at the end of Q4 2024. Now, this is equivalent to an increase of 616 billion or 121% during the time frame. So US is also facing an existential CRE crisis. A recent article by Cryptopolitan magazine revealed that American banks' potential loss exposure on real estate-related securities skyrocketed to 750 billion in Q3 2024. Then there is the looming maturity wall. Now, these are the amount of refinancing of mortgage securities or loans, okay? It will reach 998 billion in 2025, but they are already underwater by 750 billion. So another maturity wall is now confronting the year 2025. Concurrently, US banks are saddled with unrealized losses to the tune of 364 billion as of Q3 2024. So this has come down from Q2, okay? And that, why has it come down? Well, a lot of during the certain reporting months, okay, the Fed has been putting in some so-called loans, okay, to the banks to boost their balance sheet. So that is why certain months it has, is going up, and especially over here during the peak, it has now come down, because when it reaches the peak over here, I think the Fed panicked, okay, and that's why they are trying to help to prevent the value of the securities, investment in securities, from deteriorating further. So the Fed is in the background doing a lot of plumbing works. And the number of assets of banks on the problem bank list, you can see that is inching upwards. Now, this was during the crisis era, okay, of several banks facing a lot of pressure. But this was during the global financial crisis. But you can see that over here, this was during the global financial crisis, but this is currently. So you can see that a lot of things are not being reported as per norm, because a lot of all this, like the loss, unrealized loss, is not marked to market. It's put under a different section in the balance sheet of the banks, so that it's not marked to market. If let's say it's marked to the market, then I think a lot of the banks would be in trouble. So it's being kept aside. And they are trying to look at ways how to minimize it as they struggle along. So in summary, Dodge cancellation of funding and Trump's tariff will hamper US growth. At the same time, tariff will impact consumption and worsen inflation. A likely scenario for the US is an inflationary recession. So you have to look at, if let's say Dodge start to cut jobs, start to cut spending, okay, then there will be less liquidity floating around. And when there's less liquidity, floating around, then it will impact consumption. Okay, and consumption is one of the primary driver of the US economy. So that's why I say that, right now there's a lot of optimism, okay, in Trump's admin. But over the next quarter, we can see some problems start surfacing, okay, and that's why as you make certain amounts of money, okay, remember to take profit. So tax cut will help those who are already paying taxes. Those not paying taxes are too poor to do so. Thus, they have no means to battle the coming inflation because of the tariffs. So the Gini coefficient in the US will widen. So you remember, I think last month, Evelyn said that there will be a wider gap between the rich and the poor. So this is now unfolding through the policy that they implement. Successful reduction of budget deficit will reduce cost of debt financing, but due to the multi-parties' interest, Dodge would also face some headwinds, thus hampering its effort. So for example, a lot of politicians have their pocket lined by corporations. So the moment Dodge wants to go, especially right now, Trump instructed Dodge to go into the Pentagon and audit the Pentagon. I can rest assure you, a lot of people will be unhappy. Okay, there might even be minor accidents, okay, that could happen to individuals, okay, who have gone too deep. So this is things that could happen. So US financial institutions are at risk due to the onset of the CRE crisis and the huge unrealized losses sitting in their balance sheets. I think one of the key things is that Dodge hopes to cut down the debt so that the cost of financing US debt will actually come down, okay? And along in the process, it would strengthen the US dollar. And in so doing, also reduce the interest rate on a lot of the consumer, because consumer, or rather household debt, is now at a record high. Credit card is at a record high. So they hope to actually bring down the US treasuries so that in tandem, the interest rate could actually fall as well. So yes, debt will likely remain lofty due to the need to refinance its debt over the next few years. According to CNBC, nearly $3 trillion of US debt is expected to hit maturity in 2025. Much of it of a short-term nature that the Treasury Department has been issuing in large amounts over the past few years, because short-term debt actually carries higher interest, and that's why US now is paying through its nose, okay, in terms of interest payment on debt. So let's look at China. China's GDP grew by 5% despite a weak real estate market environment and numerous sanctions being launched against the country by the US to hamper its technological advance. If electricity consumption is used as a guide, China could be understating its GDP growth. Electricity consumption in China grew 6.8% in 2024. So China real estate market is finally showing signs of life, and the government moves towards supporting its recovery. So I think there is a changing of policy, because China realized that in the Trump 4 years, China has to fight against the Trump admin with everything it's got. That means no restriction. And I believe that China's success recently in terms of the black myth Wukong game and the success of Nizha 2 movie have opened the eyes of the government in a sense that it actually pushed out national business, okay? And Nizha 2 is actually right now among the top 10 highest grossing movies of all time. And Black Myth Wukong became one of the, I think is the top the top sales game in terms of revenue in the world last year. So this, I think, have opened the eyes of the Chinese government that they cannot restrict certain creativity among the people, because these are actually helping to build China's image, okay? When you have world beaters. And that means even if necessary through the entertainment. So I think that is why yesterday meeting is involving Tencent, which is a major game company, is like proving that the Chinese government is opening its eyes that its policy must also be not only to fight for the economic pie, but how to improve China's soft power, okay? And that is done through entertainment. So China is also boosting the country's consumption via a massive trade-in program that covers electronics, auto, and heavy equipment. So I think on the Telegram channel, I've shared that in January, Xiaomi's phone activation actually increased 40% year on year. So, and that's why Xiaomi is actually moving very high. I think I've talked about Xiaomi since 2022 or 2023, but for a long time, Xiaomi was actually in the 15 to 20, not moving until its EV came out. And now Xiaomi looks set to actually exceed 50 Hong Kong dollars because today it closed above 48. So a lot of things are going to be revealed in the coming months, and I think hitting above 50 will not be too difficult for Xiaomi. So China is opening up its financial market and implementing policies to support mid to long-term investment growth. So there is a lot of things that are being done, okay, to promote medium to long-term growth in the stock market. So China is coming up with a policy that will pave the way for longer investment holdings, okay, and not so much as short-term speculation. So in terms of industrial policy, China has successfully shifted to high-tech manufacturing. Furthermore, inflation in China remains tepid, allowing its citizens to achieve gains in disposable income. For those who actually sign up for the package, which include the weekly report, I've shared most of all this data. So let's look at China's transition from a real estate dominated market to high-tech manufacturing. And you can see the difference here. This is the real estate sector, which has come down in 2021. Okay, but at the same time, China has ramped up its high-tech manufacturing. So China robots density have also moved up in ranking from 5th in 2022 to 3rd position in 2023. So here is, you can see a lot of money is pouring into high-tech manufacturing, okay? And this is how China wants it to be, because the US is a financialized economy, because everything from real estate speculation to stock market investment or speculation to crypto investment or speculation, all these are actually non-productive sector. Why I say it's non-productive sector? Because it doesn't create a product. When you create a product, it is consumed, and in the creation of the product, it comes with the entire supply chain. Okay, so it creates multiple jobs. So that's why I think China will continue to push ahead its manufacturing. And even though the US would like to bring people to manufacture into the US by slapping tariffs, I don't think it will work. To a great extent, some will actually come back. Okay, but you must understand that the US doesn't have the entire supply chain. China has the entire supply chain, right from the stockpiling of raw materials to their refinement, okay, to new material science being introduced to the actual production. So you can imagine when the US government wanted to modernize the ports, the stevedores union actually came out and said, no, you cannot modernize the port because that would mean that we would lose our job. So US didn't modernize the port. But you look at Chinese port, some of the biggest ones, they are actually unmanned. Okay, the logistics are moving accordingly with the support of AI. So that means that US potential will consistently be held back because of political interest, the union interest, and the lack of infrastructure. Okay, because you look at the US railway, there's so many accidents always, and there's no modernization of its railway. And that is why I think, even if they can bring the manufacturing to the US, it will be very expensive. So most probably, Americans will buy American, okay, but the American production will have no market on the global scale because the price will be much higher. So if we look at China's export, okay, unlike 2018, China is fully prepared to meet Trump's tariffs head on. You can see here, okay, China export to the global south. This is the one in blue. China export to US, Europe, Japan, and Australia. This is the one, okay, and China export to the US is here. So right now, most of China business is with the global south. And I think the Europe, Japan, and Australia will not say no to Chinese goods because otherwise China will have reciprocal tariffs, okay, and it will hurt a lot of the European manufacturers which are already supplying to China. So the other thing is that China-ASEAN trade has also ballooned. In 2003, trade between China and ASEAN was just 59.6 billion. In 2023, trade between China and ASEAN was 911 billion. This is equivalent to a 1,429.7% increase. So in summary, okay, China has diversified its exports significantly to avoid the threat from Trump's tariffs. A number of policies have also been implemented to soften the impact from tariffs and general global economy slowdown. China is widely expected to launch a further 10 trillion in stimulus from 2025 to 2028. Consumption is set to grow, and the real estate market is expected to gradually improve, ensuring the 5% GDP growth target is achievable. China also leads in global AI patents and in 57 of 64 critical technology areas, according to ASPI. Now, this could cement China's lead in AI, material science, biotechnology, and high-tech manufacturing. So let's look at ASEAN. In 2003, total ASEAN trade was valued at 871 billion. Now, this figure increased to 2.5 trillion in 2013, 3.5 trillion in 2023, which is a 40.5% growth, over 2013 and 308% growth over 2003. So you can, even ASEAN, you know, is fast expanding. And I believe that the intra-ASEAN trade will continue to grow, okay, because you can see here that it's consistently above 20%, even though ASEAN economy keeps on expanding, but then intra-trade still plays a very important role. And you can see that economic pie has also grown as well. So intra-ASEAN trade will still be very strong. And based on the world population data prepared by UN Population Division, the population of ASEAN will increase from 633 million people in 2015 to 770 million people in 2030 and 741 million people in 2035. So ASEAN is still experiencing population growth, and where population growth is supported by growing economy, the consumption pattern would start to change, and consumption of goods starts to move up in the value chain, and that could actually create opportunities for multiple industries. Now, this brings in with the tremendous growth prospect fueled by domestic consumption and trade. China Belt and Road Initiative is expected to connect Southeast Asia landmass with China in the coming years, boosting trade further. And if we look at the other 4 economies that were in the top 10 just now, you can look at their GDP. This was a peak over the last 10 years. And you can see that inflation remained high, therefore it's stagnation. This is France. This was the peak, okay? But right now, is experiencing stagnation. Now, we can ignore this because this was due to the pandemic, okay? UK GDP, this was the peak over here, and right now is stagnation because slowing growth and high inflation. Japan as well, okay? Reached almost a peak here, but then right now is coming down because of higher inflation as well. So it's entering into stagflation. The others, Germany, France, and UK, their stagflation seems to be more pronounced, but Japan seems to be heading towards that. So let's look at the global financial sector, okay? Let's talk about gold. Now, gold is at a record high across major currencies. You can see that in the January price is at record high, whether it is US dollar, euro, Japanese yen, Great Britain pound, Canada dollar, Swiss francs, Indian rupee, and renminbi, and Aussie dollar. Okay, so you can see the year-to-date return is all been positive. Now, this trend will likely continue throughout 2025. And we are right now in US dollars already 2,900 and above. So why will gold outperform? Major central banks are net buyers in preparation for a possible revaluation. Gold is moving from the Bank of England to the US, suggesting that the US is stockpiling gold. Probably because the US thought not gold is no longer there, but they have already asked Dodge to do an audit. So while Dodge hasn't gone into an audit, they quickly transfer the gold from England back to the US. So news circulating that the US will issue gold-backed bonds in 2026. And this could be the reason for the stockpiling. Now, gold-backed bonds means that if the US need to borrow money, it no longer wants to pay interest rates. But it will tell the investors that our bonds are backed by gold so that you can redeem your bonds by getting physical gold. But that's not going to be any interest rates. So if that is the case, investors may also want to buy the US bonds, because if the US continue to print money, the value of gold will continue to rise, okay? So that the amount of gold that the US need to give back to the investors over the long term would be much lesser, because the value of gold have actually gone up as the US dollar becomes weaker because of massive bond issuance. So you can see that how revaluing gold will actually help in a way that if the US immediately revalue gold, it will create a huge amount of money in the US Treasury, because based on the US Treasury, gold is still priced at $45 as it did in 1971, because that was when gold was last revalued, and it's held in the ledger at $45. If the US revalue gold, let's say to 2009 or $3,000, when it's ready to revalue, it will create an extra cash of around 800 to a trillion, depending on the price of gold, okay, whether it is 2009 or more than 3,000. So that can actually be used to offset a portion of the debt, and in the future, the US will no need to have any interest on its bond, but investors will still buy because the value of the gold will actually go much higher, okay? So, or it could be a combination of very low interest plus gold. So by doing so, the US would have a lot of leeway. It no longer have to pay a very high interest rate. So it could be either fully go back or low interest rate plus gold, depending on how the investors will react to what the US will propose. So China has implemented policy for its citizens to convert savings into gold instantaneously, where they can collect in physical form days later. So last time, Chinese citizens will need to go to the bank, okay, to buy the gold piece. They need to fill up forms, okay, then they give the money, and then they get the gold bar. But right now, Chinese can actually save up, okay, and then start converting it gram per gram every day. But they can just do it without needing to buy the physical yet, by having a lot of documents signed and so forth. But they can actually start converting gram by gram, so that once they have 10 grams, they can go to the bank and say that right now I have 10 grams of gold. I would like to receive my gold. So then they can collect. Once they have submitted a request, they can collect in physical form days later. So China has also implemented a policy to allow major insurance companies to invest in gold. So some analysts say that if the insurance company, because right now it's just at 1% of their total assets, yeah, but that 1% is based on total assets of, I think it's, many trillions. But that 1% itself will free up close to about 437 or 450 billion renminbi for insurance company to invest in gold. So that would create another high demand for gold, because you have the citizens and right now you have the companies. So the first wave of gold buying was driven by central banks. The next wave will be driven by retail buyers. Gold is the ideal hedge against global uncertainties and inflation. Where gold goes, silver will follow. Gold to silver ratio is high at 90 versus historic low of 31 during the global financial crisis and 15 during the peak stagflation in 1980. And silver is the only metal that has yet to beat its 1980 record high. So if we look at right now, gold at, let's say it reached 3,000, okay, and right now it's at 9. If it's at 3,000 at 90, if it even goes back to its low of 31 during the global financial crisis, it would imply that the silver price would actually triple. That means right now at 30-something dollars, silver would become $100 per ounce. Okay, but investing in silver is very different because silver is highly volatile. Okay, and that short burst in the price of silver can be very high, but within a very short period. So it can happen very quickly and then before it comes down, like what happened during the global financial crisis. Or due to consistently lack of silver, the price can go up, but then it will remain within there, and and then gradually increase over a much longer term, gradually, not a sudden shoot up. Okay, so that is why silver is a combination of speculation more than investment. But gold, yes, is an investment to protect your spending power. So if we look at gold in US dollar, okay, this was during the 1970 to 1980 stagflation. This was during the global financial crisis. So what will happen when when the global economy face another major crisis, like the imploding of debt carried by many financial institutions? So gold's steep rise could signal a potential revaluation or a possible hyperinflationary event further down the road due to excessive money printing and debt. Now, if gold is already forecasting a major event that will result in tremendous money printing, or that force central banks to revalue gold or to print more money, then we could either have a gold revaluation or hyperinflation, but either of one will actually push gold much, much higher. So what could alter gold's trend? Now, Trump tariffs and Dodge cuts in spending could potentially result in an inflationary recession. Stock market will sell off, the bond market will sell off, and commodities market will also sell off, impacting gold in the mayhem as demand for US dollar surge. Now, this is similar to the 2020 event, okay, where during that pandemic period, everything was being sold, okay, and oil actually went into negative, okay, because those people who have bought the oil futures got no place to sell, okay, and then they have to actually like have to just sell it at a major loss. So the Fed must step in to save the economy. We could see QE on steroids because of so much debt that is involved. Failure to do so could result in an inflationary depression. Bond yields will fall, and the US dollar will fall, and the stock market will rise. Gold will go parabolic. We could potentially see perpetual QE by the Fed in order to keep the bond yields low. Now, this time frame for this event will likely be in Q2 or Q3, as the stock market is now overvalued and is awaiting the right pin to break its bubble. The only outlier will be the forward issuance of gold-backed bonds and the revaluation of gold, ensuring that gold's correction will be short-lived. Okay, because there's a demand for gold-backed bonds, then the impact on gold will be much lesser. The US dollar would tank, but would make it meaningful for manufacturing to relocate to the US and help US exports. So there are some news circulating that is perhaps what Trump and Elon Musk are actually trying to do. They want to bring down the US economy so that the US dollar will be cheap. And even though there are a lot of restrictions in the US, manufacturing would want to come in because of the market and the low labor costs, because US dollar will be very cheap. But If let's say the US dollar is very cheap, then gold would go parabolic, okay? So let's look at the US Treasury yield. If you look at what happened, now this is very interesting because during the 1980, when gold peaked, the US Treasury, the 10-year US Treasury is at 16%. But gold peaked also when in 2011, okay, the US dollar fell to 69. The US dollar index fell to 69 and interest rate was very low. So this goes to show that gold do not necessarily react to higher yields or lower yields, okay? During this period when gold peaked, the US dollar was also moving high, okay? But rather, I think gold is something that looks at both a number of issues, strength of US dollar, US Treasury, or US Treasury yield, or the current economic condition. But here we can see that the trajectory of the UST 10-year yield will move in tandem with inflation. Higher the inflation, higher the yield, and the yield will determine the direction of the US dollar. So this is what we see, that inflation has been going up steadily. During the pandemic, they printed so much US dollar. So it has been holding within a tight range, but right now it seems that it's moving up again because of the huge deficit, okay? And a lot of the debt, okay, that is moving the yield higher. So if we look at the US dollar index, okay, so gold peak over here, okay, in 1980, but subsequently the US Treasury yield spike up in order to force the price of gold lower. But during this period of 1970 and 1980, even though the US dollar index was high, okay, gold was still relatively high, okay, in the 1970s, but it hasn't peaked yet. It peaked sometime in 1980. So right now, even as the US dollar, the dollar index is climbing up, okay, we also see gold price moving much higher. So this was the time when gold peaked, US dollar was low, index was around, it did fall down as low as 69, but I think because this is based on the closing over the year, so there could be some discrepancy. But you can see that gold also does not necessarily follow the dollar index, because during this period, the dollar index has been steadily rising, but gold is also rising as well. So trajectory of the DXY is determined by the strength of the US dollar. The strength in the yen could undermine the strength of the US dollar. This is because the BOJ is also fighting inflationary pressure. Peace in Europe could also strengthen the euro and therefore putting a cap on the strength of the US dollar. So you can see that in the global financial system, a lot of people like to say that as long as US dollar is up, gold will be up, will be down. Okay, you can see that over the longer term, it doesn't make any difference because gold is used to gauge what will happen in the future in an economic environment, not so much as driven by dollar strength or the US Treasury yield, okay? Because the market has been trained to expect that. So whenever short-term fluctuation and volatility of the DXY or UST yield, you can see gold move in tandem. But on a much longer period chart, you can see that it hardly matters because gold is always rise in anticipation of some event in the future. And that event could be driven by monetary policy, okay, or economic event that is like inflation, okay? So this is why it's important for you to understand that when you are in doubt, always zoom out the chart on a much longer term, and then you can see that, hey, you know, it's not necessarily true, okay? So let's look at the stock market. Now, over the last 5 years, the S&P has gained 79.0% versus the Hang Seng Index, okay, which has fallen by 21.58%. So you can see that how the S&P has outperformed the Hang Seng Index over the last 5 years. So the S&P has outperformed by a wide margin. But if we look at year to date, this was based on 13th of February when I did the comparison, okay, the S&P has gained 3.13%, while the Hang Seng Index has gained 11.17%. So right now, it seems like things are changing. The Hang Seng Index has outperformed the S&P, and this trend will likely continue in 2025, driven by stimulus from the Chinese government. Now, today, I think early this morning, I sent out a chart that the amount of short interest in Chinese stocks is one of the highest in history. And this is telling us that if the Hang Seng Index continue to move up, especially with the support of the government, okay, since that the government right now is welcoming all the tech giants, you know, encouraging them, let's work together, you know, to drive the economy higher. If let's say, okay, the Hang Seng Index continue to outperform, and when the Chinese the short interest on Chinese stocks is the highest in history, then if a short squeeze happens, then there will be very bloody on those short sellers, okay? Because they need to cover as the Hang Seng move up higher, okay? So that is also one of the reasons why the Hang Seng Index could outperform the S&P. So if we look at the Nasdaq over the last 5 years, the Nasdaq has gained 101.93%, while the Hang Seng Tech Index has fallen by 3.38%. So the Nasdaq has outperformed the Hang Seng Tech Index by a wide margin.
Actually, PC, remember we are the first, those members that joined us since 2023, they will have known that we are one of the first to talk about China stock.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. At the time, you know, everyone was crazy about US stocks.
Yeah. So if you have bought actually in 2023, okay, it's actually very low. That's why those who bought SMIC, I think some of them say that they bought at $15 Hong Kong dollars SMIC. I think SMIC now is almost $50 if I'm not wrong. I didn't keep track because I sold SMIC at 26.5, only to see it go higher after I sold, because I sold SMIC to invest in Ripple. Okay, so that are sometimes the mistakes that we make lah. Okay, we cannot see the future. We can only use our best diligence to manage our portfolio. So, but if we look at it, year to date, as of 13 February, Nasdaq has gained 1.91%, while the Hang Seng Index tech sector has gained 20.14%. Okay, so you can see that now the Hang Seng Index is waking up. And if you look at it, the valuation in a lot of the stocks in the US is very, very high. Even the Magnificent Seven is showing some top. Okay, so if we look at it, the Hang Seng Index has outperformed the Nasdaq year to date, and this reaffirms the narrative that the Hang Seng Tech Index will actually outperform S&P in 2025, especially right now after DeepSeek. You can see that there's tremendous interest in Chinese stocks, and right now I believe that there are a lot of mainlanders that are buying Hong Kong stocks through the Shanghai Hong Kong Stock Connect. And like Alibaba, the amount of mainlanders have become majority shareholders in the sense that they constitute more than 5% of Alibaba total stock holding. So on cryptocurrency, the Trump admin is widely expected to be pro-crypto. Although during his campaign, Trump alluded to the idea that BTC would be a reserve asset, this is not set in stone. There is now a lot of talks that, those who are pro-BTC say it's pro-BTC, but those who are pro-XRP say that it will be SRP because it's easy to tokenize the assets. So let's see, okay? The new Treasury Secretary Bessent did mention that the Trump admin would like to monetize US government assets, but there are no indication thus far what these assets will consist of. Of course, the largest asset sitting on the US government balance sheet is gold. High indication that this asset could be tokenized. Meanwhile, Trump has announced the setting up of a sovereign fund. Okay, so these are the ongoing news that we are seeing. So in terms of geopolitics, let's talk about the Americas. Trump had signaled he wants to take Greenland and make Canada a state under the US. Trump admin seems to have secured the return of the Panama Canal back to the US, back under US management. Canada and Europe have voiced their disapproval over Trump's attempt to expand the US territorial claims, but both seem weak to oppose the US as they have no strong ally to back them. Canada has fully disengaged from China, while Europe with Russia, their respective economies are also in the doldrums. So that means that probably Trump will be able to get Canada and Greenland. Greenland maybe is much easier, but Canada, there seems to be a lot of disapproval among Canadians themselves. Okay, so let's see how it's going to evolve. Now, in terms of Europe, if the US and Russia could end the conflict in Ukraine, then it's a win for humanity. However, I believe Russia will set the terms, including Ukraine's surrender. May not sit well with the EU and other members of NATO. Right now, in just a meeting yesterday, the European members of NATO says that if the US pull out, they will still send troops to Ukraine. Okay, so that means they won't honor what Trump's decide because they are not in the peace deal. So I expect to see every attempt made by a group of European nations to prolong the war. In terms of Middle East, Trump wanted to move the population of Gaza out of the land to build a Mediterranean resort, and this contravenes the UN Charter. A number of Arab nations already voiced their disapproval, and right now Egypt is preparing for war. And recently, Egypt has already started to buy a lot of Chinese weapons because they fear that their weapons, which are used by their airplanes, are American-made. So that is why they are now buying Chinese armaments in anticipation that they might have to go to war. Hamas won't give in either. I expect months of bloody conflict ahead if Trump pushes with his plan. And US military could potentially enter the conflict. Meanwhile, Trump is issuing threats against Iran. The heavy posturing by Trump in the Middle East could harm US interests in the region. Bombing Iran would turn the region into an inferno, and that is what Israel wants. So will the US do it? to do it would actually be a death knell to a lot of US interests in the region. Taiwan and South China
okay.
Sea, yeah.
This one also actually in line with the forecast. Just like I stated that, I'm using the Thai so there will be a lot of like war and confrontation that is going on as well.
Yeah. So Taiwan and South China Sea, Taiwan seems to be a dilemma as Trump is advocating for full return of semiconductor manufacturing back to the US by TSMC via a joint venture with Intel. And this could hit Taiwan's economy hard. China will continue to bid its time when it comes to Taiwan. I think China is not in an urgent rush to want to change Taiwan unless the Taiwanese government will do something stupid, like announcing that they are right now an independent country, simply because they believe that the US, Japan, and South Korea will support them. Okay, but if they do so, then I think that China would have no recourse but to have a naval blockade on Taiwan. Okay, the Philippines will continue to do the US bidding and antagonize China, and Indonesia's formal entry as a full-fledged BRICS nation member could worry Australia. In fact, Australia has already sound their concern because Indonesia, by joining BRICS, have also pulled out of all negotiations with China with regard to the South China Sea, because they see that South China Sea is less of importance, but getting China to help Indonesia to be to develop further and make Indonesia another manufacturing powerhouse is of more concern to them. Okay, so I think that the entry of Indonesia into the BRICS have also upset the balance of power in the southern side of the Pacific. So let's look at what are the investment opportunities. Now, as always, I say that gold is important because it protects your purchasing power. Gold has risen 79.3% over the past 5 years, but the gold minus ETF, GDX, has only risen 50.2%. During the 2011 bull market, gold rose to $1,920 per ounce, and the GDX traded at 65.8. Today's gold price is 2,928, and the GDX is still, at 42.51. This is based on 14th of February. So you can see that, there's a totally huge divergence between gold price and the gold miners. And that sets up the gold miners as a potential to go up higher, simply because a lot of the potential for gold to revalue higher, and that would actually benefit the gold producers. Already, a number of major gold producers have announced their earnings, and all of them beat expectations. So silver is the most suppressed metal in the world. Silver has risen 77.6% over the past 5 years, but the silver minus ETF, SIL, has only risen 21%. During the 2011 bull market, silver rose to 48.33 cents per ounce, and the SIL traded at 92.61. And today's silver price is at $32.83. So once again, you can see that there is a huge divergence in the precious metals market between the actual physical metal and the miners that mine them. Now, technology. Technology will see intense development in 2025. The US tech ETF QQQ has outperformed the Chinese tech ETF KWEB. However, this year could be a year of Chinese tech driven by AI, which China continues to lead the world in number of patents. So you can see that the Nasdaq has been going up. So, but the KWEB is still hovering from slightly above its lows over here, not too high, okay, as they did in 2021. So you can see at 34.34, but during the last peak over the last 5 years was more than 100. So you can see that this has a potential to 3x. But the Nasdaq QQQ is moving from here to here, you know, that's gone up quite substantially by 100%. Yes, it may be able to go up higher, but then, you know, what you can do, you can have a combination of exposure through the US tech ETF, okay, and also KWB, but with higher weightage on KWEB. Yeah. So other investment opportunities for consideration: spot uranium miners ETF, URNM, due to acute shortage of uranium in the market and demand for electricity from data centers. The uranium shortage projection or trajectory has never changed. But what some analysts are putting forward after they did some research is that one of the major players, Cameco, could be actually because they have some of the biggest mines operating. So what they could be doing is that they are selling a lot of uranium into the market to keep the price depressed, because a lot of their long-term contracts are for price of uranium at $60 to $80. So when uranium hit more than $100, I think they got very worried, because at the max they can claim is $80. So I think that they are, some analysts believe that they are using their mines to dump uranium into the market so that the company would not be in trouble. But the thing is that the more uranium that they mine and they dump into the market and is absorbed into the market, yes, uranium price could be depressed, but their depletion of stocks will also be much higher. So that remains to be seen how it will impact the company moving forward. And the other one is the Global X AI and Technology ETF, AIQ, for strictly AI play. So right now, I think this ETF was recently created with focus on AI. So if you want to have specific AI exposure, you know, you might want to study this ETF. The other one is the Defiance Quantum ETF, or QTUM, strictly for quantum play. I think last year during the course, I did mention about IonQ. I think at that time the stock was just a few dollars, I think less than $10. And I think it moved up to 40 over until NVIDIA says that quantum is not ready. Then, you know, I think they fell about 60 or 70%. I have not checked on the quantum stocks recently, but if those of you who have bought when it was around less than $10 in 2024, when it has gained to 30 or 40 something, I hope some of you have taken profit, okay? Because otherwise, you know, right now it has fallen back to, I think, about 20 something. So power companies, due to their data centers demand for electricity, especially in the US, I think it will push up the price of electricity. And because US electricity output has been rather stagnant when compared to China. Okay, so that means that they are going to raise their prices, and likelihood those companies would actually benefit. And of course, major cloud and e-commerce companies, those that run the data centers, also would be cloud operators. So semiconductor companies, heavier weightage towards Chinese companies due to expanding export of chips and taking over the legacy chips market share from competitors. Achieving self-sufficiency in lithography agreement, just a matter of time. Current EUV by SMEE available for 13.5 nanometers. So I think we could potentially see maybe 2 years before China would have its EUV that can match SML. Okay, so Chinese shipping and port companies, due to expensive trade involving China port companies are also running a lot of international ports. Okay, do look them up, and selected risks focus on data centers. So Evelyn, back to you.
Oh, okay, yeah, PC. So actually, before we go into the conclusion and the Q&A, maybe I would like to take a photo of everyone for this year's annual astrology talk. If you are convenient, can you please, on your camera so that I can, take the photo. Maybe PC, you can stop sharing.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah. Because if I wait until the end, everyone will have, this one ready. Yeah. So don't mind if you're on your camera, appreciate. Okay. Let me just put in the view, in the gallery view. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, thanks everyone for this one. Yeah, thanks BJ, Boon Leong, Esme, Richard, Sharon. Yeah. Okay. So the rest are not convenient to on your camera. Yeah, Hui Ming, Chin On, Gilbert. Yeah, okay. Appreciate that. Okay, so just let me take it. Yeah, Karen also. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So that every year we can have this one. The rest it's not. Yeah. Okay, just this. Okay, so let me just retake again. It's a bit to this one. Okay, yeah, ready. Yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so let me, there's a few questions that we can also answer in the chat box. Just save it first. Okay, so let me share again my deck. And then let's go through the conclusion. Yeah, can you see my screen, everyone? If you can see my screen, can you please give me a 1? Oh, yeah, win. Yeah, okay, thank you. Good. Okay, so we almost reached the end of the talk already for tonight. I hope that you guys has gained something. We will go into the conclusion, and after that we will do the Q&A. So the brief forecast will be that, this year you will have a lot of innovation in technology. The landscape of the job market will change. Okay, quite drastically, I would say that it will still be inflammatory environment, okay, mostly driven by food prices and raw materials. We know that the supply chain will be challenging. There will be multiple flashpoints still in military conflicts and the rise of multipolar world that is ongoing, okay, and I think we already talked about that in our period 9 books as well. So widening of the gaps, not only between rich and poor, tech savvy and non-tech savvy as well. This also happens. So, okay, how about PC? Any conclusion from your side?
No, I think I've spoken much about it already, similar to yours. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I think thank you everyone for attending the talk. So let me just go back to the Q&A. Let's go to the chat box and check the questions.